Now, Lord, and pray that you'll continue to inhabit our praises as we turn now to your word. As Jenny comes to read for us from the book of Joshua, and then Pete will read Psalm 4. Mark will come and bring us our word this morning.
The reading is from Joshua chapter 4. When the whole nation had finished crossing the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Choose 12 men from among the people, 1 from each tribe, and tell them to take up 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, from right where the priest stood, and to carry them over with you and put them down at the place where you stay tonight." So Joshua called together the 12 men he had appointed from the Israelites, 1 from each tribe, and said to them, "Go over before the ark of the Lord your God into the middle of the Jordan. Each of you is to take up a stone on his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the Israelites, to serve as a sign among you. In the future, when your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' tell them that the flow of the Jordan was cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it crossed the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. These stones are to be a memorial to the people of Israel forever." So the Israelites did as Joshua commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan, according to the number of tribes of the Israelites, as the Lord had told Joshua. And they carried them over with them to their camp, where they put them down. This is the word of the Lord.
Second reading is from Psalm chapter 4. Answer me when I call to you, O my righteous God. Give me relief from my distress. Be merciful to me and hear my prayer. How long, O men, will you turn my glory into shame? How long will you love delusions and seek false gods? Know that the Lord has set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will hear when I call to him. In your anger, do not sin. When you are on your beds, search your hearts and be silent. Offer right sacrifices and trust in the Lord. Many are asking, "Who can show us any good?" Let the light of your face shine upon us, O Lord. You have filled my heart with greater joy than when their grain and new wine abound. I will lie down and sleep in peace, for you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Let's see if the technology decides to work. Yes, brilliant. So I'm doing Psalm 4 today, and we're having a look at this. Now, the translation I've used is the New Living Translation. For me, it just flows that bit better and brings out the points, as we will see. So, the first bit, for the choir director, a psalm of David to be accompanied by stringed instruments. Well, that puts me out for a start. So, we'll just read it through in the new version, and we'll see how it goes. Answer me when I call to you, O God, who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer. How long will your people ruin my reputation? How long will you make groundless accusations? How long will you continue your lies? Oops. You can be sure of this, the Lord set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will answer when I call to him. Don't sin by letting your anger control you. Think about it overnight and remain silent. And offer sacrifices in the right spirit and trust the Lord. Many people say, "Who will show us better times? Let your face smile on us, Lord. You have given me greater joy than those who have had abundant harvests of grain and new wine. In peace I lie down and sleep, for you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe." Right, I'll go back for a second. Who wrote this? Well, it says it quite clearly at the beginning, David. Now, most of us have heard of David, but how much do we actually know about him? And let's have a look at his story. Well, that's his potted timeline of David's life. It's quite busy. He did quite a lot in his 70 years. But let's actually try and work out the context of this psalm, because David wrote this psalm. He wrote about 73, 75 of the 150 psalms, so he wrote about half of them. And it's good to get into the mindset and understand this person, David. So what do we know about him? Well, most of the story is told in 1 and 2 Samuel, carries on into Kings and Chronicles a bit, but that's where most of the story is. So let's break out his busy life. First bit, born early, as most of us are, about 1000 BC, into a rural community. He was a shepherd. He was anointed king by the prophet Samuel. We don't quite know exactly what age, but in his early teens. And then, this bit of the story we all know, he got some stones with his sling and killed Goliath. Oh, that's good. And then he becomes a musician for King Saul, who was the king of the time. Now, various stories which are written in Samuel, by age of 30, he becomes king of Judah. And 7 years later, this expands to king over all of Israel as well. Now, the next story which we know is he moved the Ark of the Covenant up from, I think it was Shiloh, up to Jerusalem. This involved lots of sacrifices, lots of dancing, and it was moving the centre of their religion into Jerusalem. He made plans to make a temple, and that's what he wanted to do, but God had different plans, and he wanted Solomon to do that. So Solomon did that later, and there were a series of temples. Then he had a hiccup. Well, the first thing is, probably for political reasons and other reasons of the time, he had 8 wives. I personally find 1 wife plenty. And so having 8, oh boy. And he decided he wanted another one. Well, I think he had 7 and then wanted another one. Bathsheba, because he didn't go to war that year. He stayed home and looked at the local surroundings. And a soap drama worthy of any evening ensued. In the end, he marries Bathsheba after he had her husband killed. Their first son died. They later had another son who was Solomon, who became the next major king. All right, so that was a slight hiccup. And then he carries on. And he's now 60. And problems start occurring. Another son, I always have difficulty with this name. How do you say it? Absalom. I always want to say Absalom. Absalom. Now, he was one of his other 21 children, so you think it's bad at Christmas time. He had even more to worry about. Wanted to be king. So for a number of years, he spent time at the front city gate talking to people, saying, wouldn't it be nice if, what are all these problems? So turning people's ears. And when David was 60, he rebelled. So David now had to run away and hide again, as he had right back at the beginning. And this is when we think the psalm was written, during this rebellion. It was either written then or written later, reflecting on this time. So, back a tiny bit. He then became king again, ruled for another 10 years, and died at the age of 70. There was a slight hiccup before Solomon became king, but again, that's in 1 Kings, I think. So let's get back to the psalm and understand it in slightly new eyes of remembering who wrote it. All right, the first one. Answer me when I call to you, O God, who declares me innocent. Free me from my troubles and have mercy on me and hear my prayer. He's in trouble. He's running for his life. He's just been usurped and people are hunting him, trying to kill him. And he's age 60 running around the countryside. I'm not sure I'd want to do that. Next bit. How long will you people ruin my reputation? How long will you make groundless accusations? How long will you continue in your lies? I think this is getting back at Absalom, getting back to Absalom, trying to turn the people's ears away from him and not listening to what he is saying. So this is a kind of two parts of a conversation going on in the psalm. Next bit. You can be sure the Lord God set apart the godly for himself. The Lord will answer when I call to him. So this is him going back to his whole life. He had hiccups, he had problems, he was like us, but the whole life he talked to God and he felt God heard him and looked after him, which was good. And this is a bit of very good, he's almost talking to himself. Don't sin by letting anger control you. Think about it overnight and remain silent. Now, that's very good advice. And I think he's talking to himself. His son has overtook him. As you later read the story in full, he loves his son. He doesn't like it when he's killed. But he's angry at him, but he doesn't let that overtake him. So keep that advice generally in mind. And I think this is one of the key bits of the whole psalm. Offer sacrifices in the right spirit and trust the Lord. And that's what we should do. Trust God does see us, talk to him, call to him, explain where we are and what we would like to happen, and listen to his answer. Sometimes he has other plans. And this is an interesting twist, which some people take out of context and say it's prosperity gospel. I don't think it is. Many people say, who will show us better times? Let your face smile on us, Lord. They're basically, again, there's two parts of the conversation. They're trying to say, God bless us, please. Well, this is his reply. David says, you have given me greater joy than all those that have had abundant harvests of grain and new wine. It is good when we have good things, but it's more important this second bit. In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, will keep me safe. Again, he's showing who he trusts in. We can have everything we want and not be happy. Money isn't everything, is another way modern society thinks about it. Okay. And that's the end of the psalm. So I hope that's unpacked it a bit more, shown it was a personal thing written by somebody. And now I want to bring in the other passage, a slightly curious one from just after Exodus. I'll read out the key bit, Joshua 4:4-6. So Joshua called together the 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes of Israel. He told them, go to the middle of the Jordan, in front of the ark of the Lord, your God. Each of you must pick up one stone and carry it on your shoulder, 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. So, the bit I want to bring out of this is God knows us. He made us. We forget. If we're in good times, we remember the good times, but sometimes forget God. If we're in bad times, we get worried up in the bad times and sometimes forget God. So it's good in our lives to put things that remind us of God. Put in memorials. So, to do that successfully, we first need to see and recognize what God has done for us. Well, I would hope He has done many things. Well, he's done many things for me, I know. I hope you can see that he's done many things for you. There's saving you individually. There's answering your prayers. Might sound strange, but sometimes he might not have answered all your prayers because some of them might not have given you what you really needed. There's common grace of we live generally in a peaceful land, and we are very well off compared to a lot of the world. So there are lots of different things we can thank God for, the specific and the general. And then we should try and build them into our lives to find ways to help remind us. Because when I'm going through a hard time, either physically, something's hurting, or something's wrong with my kids, or something else is going wrong, I tend to worry about the thing going wrong, and I tend to forget God. Not good. I know I shouldn't do it, but I do. But if we put things in our lives, memorials, which help us see and remind us of God, they might give us a nudge. Sometimes friends do it. Okay. So, final slide. I hear a general sigh and cry, well done, thank you. I used to be a teacher. You'll love this. Here's the homework. Don't worry, it's a self-marked bit of work. I'm not collecting it in, but it is something we all can do ourselves, and I would encourage you to do it. Over the next week, think of the ways God has blessed you. Some will find this easy, some will find it harder, but think of some. And for me, I might write them down in my, don't keep a diary, but I pick a kind of notebook, bits of paper all over the place, yes. Some people keep prayer diaries, a very good habit if you've got one. Write down what you're praying about, reminds you to pray for it, and write down the answer when it comes, either later, yes or no, or other comments. Some people link it to particular bits of music, particular bits of artwork. Some people might take stones from a beach when they've gone on a holiday to remind them of the holiday. Well, link it back to things that have helped you. And the last bit is then, as I was saying, create a way to remind you of it. Try and think of ways to build God into the other 6 days of the week. God's not just for Sunday. God's for your whole life. Try and think ways. He wants to be there. He is there beside you. Right. Yep, that's it. So, hope you do good homework. Mark it well. I'm sure you'll all get A. But enjoy.